Welcome, nature detectives. I'm Conrad Baker. I'm an outdoor educator with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation at Letchworth State Park, and today I have a nature mystery for you. Even though we're starting to get more regular snows as we get closer to winter, there's still a hidden world of helpful creatures scuttling around under every fallen log and every rotting stump. And I'll show you what we mean. If we slowly and gently flip one over, we can use our nature tools to figure out what kind of creatures these are and how they help us every single day. We'll use one nature tool today. That's just our eyes. So let's flip over a stump right over here, very gently, and take a look at what is underneath. There they are, inside the scientific jar of science. Looking more closely at them, do you notice what shape they are in general? There are two of them in there. One's a little bit bigger than the other one. You see how they're not perfectly round like a ladybug, but they're not super long and skinny like a worm. They're kind of football shaped, kind of oval shaped. That's an excellent nature clue. The second nature clue, you look at their color in general. Are they nice and shiny like some kind of wasp wings? Are they dark black like some kinds of millipedes? No, they're kind of a grayish color. Some kinds of animals like this will be kind of brownish or grayish. They're generally not brightly colored, kind of drab. And our third nature clue, let's look super close up at the underside of these animals. And do you notice how their bodies, when you look more closely, are actually broken up into many different smaller segments, kind of like pieces of armor? And out of each piece of armor, do you notice that there are two legs coming out? Each segment of its body has two legs, or one pair of legs coming out. This is a kind of an animal with one pair of legs per body segment. Huge nature clue. Now let's put all those nature clues together. We have an animal with two legs coming out of each body segment. Those body segments are generally gray, drab in color, and the shape of the animal in general is oval-ish, football-shaped. These must be isopods. Isopods go by many, many names. One of the most common is roly-poly. These are your classic roly-poly bugs, but they're not bugs at all. A scientist would say that these isopods are more closely related to a shrimp or a crab or a lobster than they are to a beetle. They're a fascinating animal. They tend to live under rotting logs and dead sticks and dead leaves, and they eat lots of dead plant material. That makes them a detritivore. Scientists would call them detritivores. Detritus is dead plant material, and they eat that detritus. While they're doing that, they're doing a really important job for us humans. They clear up all that dead plant material that can build up and sometimes mold, which can give us some kinds of diseases. And they also help to break down that dead material into nutritious soil for our gardens and our farms. In fact, some people even buy isopods on purpose from pet stores and put them in their tanks with their lizards and snakes and amphibians. They're a really great cleanup crew for pet terrariums. They can live in moss and eat fungus or detritus inside a terrarium, turning it into its own ecosystem right inside the pet owner's house. Super duper cool, a really important animal to have around. And keep in mind that there are thousands of different species, and not all of them all look the same. For example, these ones that we found today can't roll up in a nice tight ball like a classic roly-poly. These ones will either partially tuck into a ball, or they'll just try to hide down in the detritus and down in the soil. There are some isopods that live in very wet soil, and there are some that can live in very dry soil. These kinds of isopods right here have tiny little tube-like, lung-like structures in some specialized leg-like organs on their bellies that help them to breathe the air. But there are lots of different kinds of isopods that live in the water. Maybe you've noticed when you go to the beach If you scratch in the sand a little bit, you might see some little isopods in there. One way to tell isopods apart from other kinds of animals with segmented legs is by the number of legs that come out of each body segment. You remember that was an important nature clue. Just 2 legs come out of each body segment. If you're looking at something like a millipede, and some millipedes can be very short and they can look kind of like isopods, a millipede will have 4 legs coming out of every body segment. 2 pairs, 4 legs coming out of each body segment. If you really want to put your nature detective skills to the test, try to find some isopods in your neighborhood. All you'll have to do is flip over the nearest rotting log or stump, just like we did here today, maybe under some big rocks that have been sitting around for a while, anywhere where the isopods can get close to the dirt, find some detritus, and hold on to a lot of moisture and warmth to protect themselves from the harsh winter weather. Well, thank you so much for joining me for today's Nature Mystery. If you have any questions about isopods or other crustaceans that live in New York State, please put a comment in the comment section below the video. Share this video with your friends to put their nature detective skills to the test. And as always, like Letchworth State Park's Facebook page to stay tuned for more nature mysteries.